So we have a name now.
We do.
Thinkularity. Is that how you pronounce it when you say it? We've only texted it.
Thinkularity. Yeah.
Okay.
It's singularity.
Yeah. So I got that connection. You said this is already a word, though. I thought it was just a made-up word based off of singularity.
Okay, so we'll go through the full story here.
Okay.
So Thinkularity. Well, okay, so we were trying to come up with a name for this podcast and throwing words around left and right and searching for funny looking words. Out of the blue, Elon Musk on Twitter, I'm a big fan of his, starts tweeting pretty much nonsense, like he's starting a media empire. Like that's what he said, starting media.
Intergalactic, or what did he call it?
Intergalactic media empire, or maybe interstellar. I don't remember.
Either way, it's very Elon.
Yeah, very Elon. And then so someone was like, "Oh, can you clarify what you mean by that?" And so his response was, "Thinkularity." What the hell does that mean? I don't know, but I'm taking it from as a sign from the heavens that should be the name of this podcast. And yeah, I'm a little concerned that it's going to turn into a project of his, and then we're just going to have.
Maybe that'll be our benefit. Though.
Maybe we are the project.
Oh, this is the Elon Musk podcast that he started. I'll start listening to that.
Well, so there's a little bit of a story about what Thinkularity is, though, too. I looked into it a little bit. It's almost a completely unused word, except for this one like French professor, and he speaks French, so I don't really know for sure, but somebody kind of translated on Reddit for me that this guy's like whole philosophy thing is that he's sort of a futurist. Mm-hmm. First, there was the Fingularity, which started with the iPhone in 2007. Then there was the Speakularity, which started with Siri, I guess. And then, so like the final human computer interaction method leading up to the singularity is the Thinkularity. And that is a brain computer interface, which is.
So that's, I guess, having a device, Thingularity, the device speaking to you, Speakularity?
Fingularity is the first one because you're using your finger.
Oh, Fingularity. Yeah. Okay. And then the last evolution is that it's just jacked directly into your brain.
Yeah, Thinkularity.
Okay.
And that's one of the companies Elon Musk has started. Neuralink is basically attempting to do that. And then the final step is singularity, which is like something becomes semi-sentient, a computer, and it kind of just changes the way that life as we know it works.
Got it.
Yeah. And so Neuralink, which is Elon's one company, and then OpenAI actually are even housed in the same office building in San Francisco. Like they're best friends, basically. So I'm pretty sure that when he said Thinkularity, it has some reference to that like chain of, first the iPhone, then Siri, then the brain interface. So he's up to something in that regard, but it makes a cool name for a podcast. So I think I want to use it.
Yeah, I like it.
And we'll change it if we have to.
Yeah, and the listeners know for 4 episodes now that it is the name of the podcast.
And then we'll see. We'll see if it stays.
So we also have some follow-up. We talked about email clients last time, and I downloaded Astro and I gave Astro a shot, and it was interesting, but I've gone back to Spark since. Yes.
Quick interjection. I tried Spark and I went back to Astro.
All right. I'm interested in what you didn't like about Spark, but so for Astro, so it's split into like these 2 inboxes, and that the toggle is always visible. Do you use both inboxes?
Yeah, so you get a little tab at the top, and one is urgent or priority inbox, and the other is like less important stuff. And I think the idea is if you get a stupid amount of email, that's supposed to be like really helpful.
Yeah.
And it's similar to what Gmail does with like their important tab. But no, I turned that off almost immediately. I don't get enough email for it to be worth it.
Oh, so you can turn it off so that the toggle is not always at the top.
Yeah, there's a setting.
Okay, so the annoying part for me is like it has all these things visible at all times that I can't turn off. And if I'm not using it or I never want to use it, I don't want it to be there. Which brings me to the bot. I would never use that bot, and it's got a dedicated button like right in the center
Yeah.
of the menu bar or the toolbar.
Yeah.
So I don't like that. Yeah, and then just like the tab bar at all always being there, I'm not a big fan of.
No, I completely agree. I don't touch the bot. I I very infrequently use the bot. It is a little bit convenient because you really can type to it like add account or um, search for stuff. I think.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, to be honest, I didn't give the bot a shot just
yeah,
because, like, unless it's perfect, I'm not going to use it because
yeah.
once I want to try to use it and it doesn't work, it's more trouble than it's worth.
But I certainly don't use calendar. I really don't use the like. There's an insights notification tab
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, I didn't want to use that either.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why I like Spark is just because Spark is very clean. All the features, like I use all of the features.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like whether or not it's wasteful, it feels wasteful to have all these things and buttons that I would never use.
Yeah.
I use everything in Spark, which is probably why I switched from Airmail, aside from it moving to paid. Um, so yeah, I like Spark just because it's nice, clean. I can get in and out. It's very fast. I can quickly sort and filter and archive all of my emails. The composite button, like to start a new email, is just a dedicated button at the
Mm-hmm.
bottom. I can also add customize like my pins or like whatever stuff I want to get to quickly. And I'm a big fan of like doing the same action to multiple emails at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So what I typically do is I'll go down my email list, say when I wake up or something, and because I always want inbox 0.
Yeah.
So I'll go through and I'll like sort the ones that need to be sorted or reply to the ones that need to be replied to. And then I can just do a blanket sweep and archive everything else without having to go individually. So I guess that's just like such ingrained part of my how I check my email that without having that is kind of annoying.
That's the thing with Astro is it feels like well first of all I think you can bulk select things by like holding in Astro, but to the point you made earlier with like kind of things are just laying around in its interface.
Yeah,
it feels like a very modern email client because it has all these features like reply tracking and things.
yeah, I like those features.
But at the same time, I don't know. It feels just like clunky to me.
Yeah.
And I tried Spark, right?
Hello, Paul from the future here. I got a little bit confused in this episode. I tried a lot of email clients and I thought that Spark was Edison and Edison was Spark. So going forward, I'm referring to Edison when I say Spark.
And I loved it. I loved everything about it. I had it all set up with the email. Like I have different folders where I kind of move things.
Mm-hmm.
I had those all set up. It was just a great experience. And the thing that killed Spark for me was I sent an email. I don't know what happened. Like I looked afterwards and kind of figured it out. I think they have some kind of spotty Gmail support. Like people in the review section were saying how that wasn't working all the time or something.
So your email didn't send?
It didn't send, no. And it also like disappeared. And I think it came back eventually or something. But like I replied to someone and they never got it.
Was it stuck in your outbox or it was just completely
It
gone?
didn't show up in the outbox. I don't know. It was like in the ether or something because it eventually did send. But
that's weird.
And yeah, and even the latest like update to Spark at the time was it said something about we fixed Gmail stuff. So so there was a problem. I guess they thought they fixed it, and then maybe they still didn't fix it, or maybe I set it up wrong. I don't know, but
okay. Well, if they mentioned it in the notes, maybe they made some change, caused the issue, and then tried to fix it. And I've never run into that,
but so I very begrudgingly went back to Astro, and the other thing is, I think this is a related issue, but Spark would not, like I could move a message and it would disappear, and then like I'd refresh the page, and the email is back.
So yeah, I've been having that issue this week. That's never happened before, ever. Yeah. So I think you chose a bad week. But that's been annoying for me too, because I've been snoozing things and moving them into folders, and the next time I open it, they're all back. But that's never happened before until like 2 or 3 days ago.
So, like I said before the show here, I'm working my way through a backlog of some old Hello Internet episodes, or Cortex or something. And in one of the episodes, like one of their emails, one of like Mike's emails gets moved to the spam when it shouldn't have been, and he's just like, okay, you're dead to me. That's how I feel with Spark.
That's why I'm not a fan of like these like smart filters or these like smart inboxes where it automatically sorts your things into different inboxes, because I don't trust that it's going to be right. I don't trust that I can just check my important one. And
here's the thing. I desperately wish that Astro would sort. I might have said this on the other podcast, but I wish it would sort. Like it has that priority inbox and it just does a binary. Does this belong in priority or regular?
Mm-hmm.
But I really wish it would just rank priority of emails, because I check them. Some people maybe don't and appreciate the chronological order, but when I check them, the order that they're in is irrelevant.
You mean Spark? So Spark does have a smart filter.
No, I meant Astro.
Oh, okay.
I wish Astro would rank it down the line, like the first email is the thing it thinks is most important and that I need to reply to or whatever. Gotcha. That's what I wish was a feature.
Okay.
Because like when you check it like every day or whatever, it really doesn't matter whether that came at 3 a.m. or 9 a.m.
Yeah. So so in Spark, it has a thing called Smart Inbox that you can toggle to, that has, instead of being multiple inboxes, it's like they're grouped emails, but it's all in a single like scroll. So at the top will be your important stuff. Below that is basically everything else, and then below that is things that you've already read, but haven't been sorted yet.
I like the idea. See, I also tried some other email clients, and now I'm mixing them up in my head.
Yeah. I also, this is like just it really fast, but we talked a little bit earlier last week while I was on vacation about third-party keyboards. Mm-hmm. So I tried the Google keyboard.
Oh yeah.
And I've switched back since on that too.
I kind of want to see that on your phone though.
I can reinstall it, but I don't know how to explain it, and maybe like you need to use it to like get used to it or to train it in some way. But like my typos were like through the roof. It wasn't fixing anything, and like just again was like more bulky than I liked. Mm-hmm. Like it's got like a little extra. It's like a little bit taller. Has a big Google button. And I'm just not a big fan of like again wasted space. I just want to be able to use everything that's on the screen.
I deeply wish that I could turn off the Google button at the top.
Yeah, if you could customize it to like turn on and off all the features that you want, but like I don't need like a dedicated GIF search.
I use that, but
yeah, I guess I don't know. I just don't really use that. But like in switching back, deleting that and switching back to the dedicated like the Apple keyboard. Did you know that there was like a left and right, like one-handed keyboards built into the default keyboard? Like when I was redoing this, I learned that you can set it so that it like Gmail or like the Google keyboard and other third-party keyboard, it like squishes it to the right if you have like an iPhone. I guess you have the iPhone 5.
Yeah.
Or
SE.
Yeah. But in like the larger screens, you can like it squishes it to the right so that you've got like some empty space on the left, and so you can reach it all with your thumb.
Interesting.
Yeah, but the default keyboard does that, and I never knew that until I was just playing around with it. You like press and hold on the globe button, and it says choose like right-handed keyboard. I thought that was cool. That was a feature that I liked when I was using third-party keyboards.
Yeah, I've like typed with my phone really weird. I use one thumb and then I use index finger.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Is that unusual? I think it is, but it's pretty effective. I recommend trying it. And then the index finger is really good on the swipes because you can just get that all around.
I do use like I'll hold it in my left hand and I use my index finger to like navigate, but I always type with my thumbs. But I feel like a grandpa when I'm using like my finger like that.
Thumbs are just so big.
I don't know. Maybe it's because of the size difference of the phone too.
Yeah.
But even when I had, like, even when they only had the smaller phones, I was always using two thumbs. Maybe I was using one. It's impossible to know.
Quick update on the top. Are we done with the keyboards?
Yeah, that's all I had was just the right-handed keyboard. I thought that was cool.
One quick update with the home screen. So I mentioned Airtable, and I love it dearly.
Yeah, somebody at work came up to me yesterday. I was like, "You gotta try this Airtable thing." I haven't tried it. I still haven't dug into it. But
what does work guy use it for? Like work stuff?
He just said it was like really cool way to like quickly create. he uses it for for like scheduling. So he can say like you can put it all in a spreadsheet and it like can generate different views of it or something. I don't really know, but he used it in some way like that.
Yeah, it's weirdly like it's basically like Excel, but it weirdly ends up getting used in a lot of like business management type things somehow. Even to the point that like I think some of the views you can create are what are those things called? That are it's like
Gantt
like a Gantt chart view and stuff like that. But I just was using it for tracking.
I think that's kind of what he uses it for, was the Gantt charting.
Yeah, but that has since been dethroned. I loved it, but I was like just tracking like every little thing in my life. So I have since switched it out for an app called Just Done, and it's just basically a little simple tracker thing that lets you kind of just log things, and what it really does in a strong way is keep track of streaks.
Oh, okay.
So it's just like every day if I do this thing.
Isn't there an app called Streaks?
I think there's a lot, and I tried damn near every one, but this one was just simple, and it's like not trying to do a million things. And some have like they give you tips, and they have preset activities or something.
Yeah.
This one's just it's pretty simple, and I really appreciated it.
It looks clean. So is it basically you're just tapping and it just increments?
Yeah, you just tap and it one ups it, and you can set like, oh, if I do this more than twice, like if I do this twice a day, then consider it like successful, and I get like a streak. Or you can say like, if I eat out, like that's one of the things I have. If I eat out too much, so if I do that like 3 times in a week,
oh, that's a good thing to track actually.
Then it counts against me, like it goes gray when I've done it 3 or more times.
Oh, so you can you can decide whether or not higher is good or bad.
Yeah, you can do good habit, bad habit.
That's cool. Does it have like a widget so you don't have to open the app? You can just do it from like the lock screen.
I don't know that I know if it has a widget. I don't think I tried.
That sounds cool. I might look into that.
So it's a little tricky. Like it's very well designed, but it's also a little tricky
to like set up.
Just to figure out like how its brain works, like how the logic is working underneath it. Yeah. But once I got it going, it's just super convenient, very quick tracking, and I get like real feedback and kind of motivation by seeing the streak of not eaten out this many times or exercised this many days in a row. I got to keep that going. So
does everything start from 0 at the beginning of the day, but you can go back and view, or is it just always incrementing? Yeah, so you can. So if I'm in here and then I want to exercise, right? So you can come in here and look, and then you got like a calendar view for what days you did and didn't. Oh, that's and really cool. Little charts and things, and just pretty well made. Okay, pretty well made. Yeah, I'll definitely try that out. Yeah. So should we get into? So speaking of Thinkularity, should we get into South by Southwest and some of the Elon stuff?
Yeah, take us away on that.
Oh, okay. So he did an interview at South by Southwest. Talked about a lot of things.
A surprise interview, by the way.
Oh, was it a surprise interview?
Yeah.
I just saw it.
No, so I was signed up as a volunteer for South by Southwest. I think I said that on the last one. And, I was like, I always regret it. I always regret not going to South by Southwest. Elon Musk shows up. Surprisingly, he was on a panel for like
Westworld.
Yeah, for Westworld for like 5 minutes. And I was like, oh, I didn't miss that much. Next day, he's like, oh, I got a full hour of Q&A.
So before we get into this, what was that? The guy with the cowboy hat and the guitar. What was that all about?
Oh,
I guess that was his brother.
Yeah, that's
Kimball. Why did he have a cowboy hat and guitar?
Kimball always wears his cowboy hat. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's from. I don't think he's been to Texas. Like he lives in Colorado, so I don't know where the cowboy hat
aren't they both from South Africa or?
Yeah, we can do the history of the Musk family. They are born and raised in South Africa, Pretoria, but then one by one, or eventually they ended up kind of in Canada-ish area. There's like a picture of Elon working on a farm and things like that. Then they ended up finally in America. Elon then ended up in Silicon Valley, and now he's pretty much been in California. And Kimball Musk at some point ended up in Colorado. So that's he's never been a place where cowboy hats are popular, but I guess he's just into it.
He's just like, I'm in America, why not? They talked about a lot of stuff though, but let's start with the Boring Company stuff. Mm-hmm. So you're the one that put this in here, so I'll let you take this away.
Right. Okay. So this was just a little bit of an update that
I guess they already talked about this loop, which was basically you go up or you drive onto a platform like in a parking space. It takes your car down into this tunnel system, and then takes you to different places at like 150 miles an hour. Basically like personal high speed transit. I guess the update is focusing that on pedestrians, allowing people with bikes or walking around to also go through the system. Um, the things I had to say about it was just a couple of questions that I thought might be fun to talk about. So imagine that you're like walking down the street. There's a parking space that's empty that is meant for, at least in the renders, completely open for anybody to go anywhere near. And it just like slides open and a car pops out of it. For this to be like all over the city sounds super dangerous. And like obviously there'll be some sort of sensor to make sure it's safe to open. But you could just like put a big boulder on top of it and then the thing never opens and they're trapped in there. Like how does that? What's the logistics of this world look like?
I don't remember. I think I remember seeing something with like a fence. You know, someone I think asked something along the lines of, you know, what happens if you fall in, and you know that rendering is not exactly how it'll be. Yeah. So
I guess now that I think about it, it could very simply just be, instead of wide open and a floor open, it could be just a contained big box that it goes into, and then the door of the box opens so it knows that nothing's ever going in and out. But
the other scenario here is like, what if some mischief maker puts a boulder on it, I guess?
Yeah. So like you could easily sabotage it, which maybe like if they're all over the place, you would just go to the next one. But like
this is where I reference trains, because boy oh boy, like trains are not reliable. Like anyone could cut a piece of track anywhere and just instant train derailment, and it like never happens at all. Like no one has ever sabotaged a train. I mean, they probably have, but like no one has sabotaged a rail track to the point that like it's made the news or it makes it a lot. So it's just people don't.
There are also like ways to monitor that, and they come and fix it, which I guess obviously they would do the same thing. I don't know. I guess I'm just confused on like how this could work like in a real world. The other thing I was wondering was, all the examples show the advantage to this is that these tracks underground can go, and I'm by no means saying we shouldn't do this, by the way. I love it. But it shows like going to like 130, 150 miles an hour through the tunnels. That's awesome. But if like you're doing like, that wouldn't account for like going around a city. Like I don't need to go 5 blocks away at 150 miles an hour. And also, is it worth going underground, going a few blocks and going back up? Would that be like so much slower than, like, I don't get why the pedestrians, like I understand the cars more than the pedestrians, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're talking about get across the city in most cases.
I get that it's for like getting across the city. I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to think about like, is this more efficient than above ground transportation that could have much more easily let people in and out without going through this whole like elevator system?
Well, I think it remains to be seen to some extent.
Like it seems great for long distance travel. I don't see it as great for traveling around, like even a larger metropolitan sort of area.
I think maybe your minimum is 10 or 20 miles on this distance that you want to go with this to alleviate traffic so that people can get, use normal streets to get close to the places.
Is that how it's framing it up, though, for more long-distance sort of stuff? Because
well, I mean, so this originates from the Hyperloop, right, which is meant to go from, like, San Francisco to Los Angeles.
Right, and that's like, I would love that.
Yeah, that's 600-plus miles per hour. And I think a little bit of what this is here, so you mentioned it's called Loop. This is, I think, one of the first times we've heard this system called Loop. And also, for a while, Boring Company was not necessarily associated with the Hyperloop, aside from the fact that they were working on tunnels and a Hyperloop can go in a tunnel. And it's slowly come into being that, okay, so what he really wants to do here is he wants to build a Hyperloop that uses the tunnels that the Boring Company creates. So I think really the long-term plan here, and even on their website, there's FAQs, and it just says like, if you take one of these passenger pods and you make it like airtight, now it's a Hyperloop pod and it can go 600 miles per hour. So they really want to make this system just basically, as soon as the policymakers allow it to go 600 miles per hour, they flip a switch or switch out the carts, and it's very simple to make it now a hyperloop, basically.
Okay. Well, the example that they showed in like the teaser video was more of like a big web of tunnels, which a hyperloop obviously couldn't go through. You can't make that sort of turn at 600 miles an hour. I guess.
Yeah, I think they take some liberties in the animations.
That's true. I mean,
I would bet that they're gonna try to make. So like, Boring Company has 3 projects right now: a 6-mile tunnel in Los Angeles that's just proof of process, a DC to Baltimore tunnel that is supposed to, it's like that's in the works. But I think that one, like, it says on their FAQ, I think they're gonna make that one able to be a hyperloop at this flip of a switch. So it doesn't, I don't think, have any major bends that would prevent it from being a hyperloop.
Okay. Yeah, I guess maybe I should have read the FAQ and I just kind of like listened to it.
That's actually very new. That's newer than that video was.
I guess what I took from the name loop is that short distance stuff would be called loop and long distance would be hyperloop.
Yeah, so hyperloop definitely is you're going between cities. Loop, like I said, I think is that 10 miles, and then if you're really just trying to go a couple blocks, now the streets are less congested because people are using public transportation because it's badass, because they're all in the pods,
Yeah. All right, and I don't know if you knew the answer to this. I remember a while ago he was talking about this in some interview. It might have been like the Recode interview, about like earthquakes in the tunnels. He said something about like how low they are. Earthquakes aren't felt. I'm just thinking of this now, but do you understand like why the earthquakes are just negligible at a certain depth? It doesn't.
I think it's just because you're part of the earth that's moving. They addressed that a lot, and it was addressed in the Hyperloop Alpha paper that was out in like 2013. And I think consistently has just been not a big concern, although people tend to think it might be.
Yeah, I trust that it's not. Yeah. I'm just curious about the details.
And I know, like they've said, like a subway car in London or whatever. If London has an earthquake or somewhere, those are never places that are in ruins.
I guess that's true too. Is that we know where these things happen and can just build around it. If it were an issue, maybe it's not even a concern at all.
Yeah, I don't know if it is, but and then I don't know. We might cut this out, but the third project is they are one of 2 companies making a proposal for a transit system from downtown Chicago to the O'Hare International Airport. And, up in the air what exactly that would be, but probably something along the lines of this electric skate that goes at like 150 miles per hour.
So what is that again? It's just basically public transportation to the airport? Chicago?
Yeah, so Chicago put out hey, get people from downtown to the airport better. Propose.
And that's separate from the loop?
That would be, I think, a loop too.
Oh, okay, I see.
The main loop that is addressed on their website is the DC Baltimore one. The Chicago one, they don't have locked down yet, but they're going to be submitting a proposal. Okay. And then again, there's that test track in Los Angeles.
Yeah. It's always funny hearing about now these companies like Amazon's doing their HQ too, and they basically can just say we're going to build a headquarters. You guys pitch to us, and Elon Musk he got all those tax breaks for the Gigafactory, and I'm sure people would jump to have this loop in their city. Yeah, I just think it's awesome that it's kind of funny that it's going the other way around now.
Yeah, I really don't doubt that they're gonna close on the Chicago project too. They're gonna get that. So,
I don't know what else you wanted to talk about from South by Southwest, but I was interested in some of the Mars conversation.
All right, hit me.
Well, I guess I don't have anything too detailed. I mean, we'll cut this out too because I don't. But talking about more, which I think is something that Elon Musk does really well, is thinking about things from all the angles. When he made Tesla, he was like, okay, we can make a $70,000 car that looks like a Prius, or we can make a $100,000 car that's a sports car that people will actually buy. And the way like he attacks things from like an economic and even political, and like he thinks about things from more just an engineering perspective, which I think is cool. So he was talking a little bit about like the governance of some sort of base on Mars or on the moon,
Oh yeah.
because they would need their own political system. They're not going to listen to people, on Earth about how to do what they're doing. And some of the proposal that he made was like there would be no like what is it called, like delegate, like you're not voting for somebody to then vote on things on your behalf. Because back then, some people couldn't read or write. The U.S. Postal Service was unreliable. But now, like with the internet especially and all this stuff, every single person could vote on issues rather than voting on somebody to vote for them.
Mm-hmm.
So his whole he talked about like people voting on specific issues, and also keeping laws short. The longer the law, the more room for like interpretation. And then he also talks about making it easy to remove laws, but hard to create laws. I think it was, or maybe it was the other way around.
Yeah, I know in this interview, it's kind of a blur for me because it was a little while ago now. But previously, he has definitely said that he wants there to be a sunset provision so that any law that is not reapproved would just be removed immediately.
I really like the idea of like hard to create laws, easy to remove them, because so often like things are so boxed in because of outdated laws that it's hard to progress. And I've never thought about it in that way, like just like a simple sort of change, like maybe it's like a 60% vote to pass and like a 40% vote to remove, something like that, which I thought was really interesting.
We've got a really great opportunity with Mars. I mean, it'll be a while, but so you've got probably like pretty much the first government that would be built around having technology.
Yeah.
And that's a substantial threshold. It's not like an arbitrary thing because, I mean, unless there's some kind of physics, I don't know, like a new version of computers that we'll have after we have a Mars base and then we have an old government compared to that new technology.
Yeah.
Having computers versus not having computers is as like night and day as you can have a government be, right?
Yeah.
So any government built with that in mind and the fact that people can communicate pretty much instantly, at least on Mars, maybe not necessarily with Earth, depending on the time of the year.
I would love to be around like 100 years after we've like established bases on both of these, like on Mars or on the moon or something, and see how things progress like in parallel. Like how like do things move so much faster, and then eventually Mars is going to be like the Silicon Valley of the solar system. That's like moving so much faster and so much better and so much smoother because we're so bogged down by thousands of years of like laws built on top of laws. And I don't know, I just think it'd be an interesting thing to live through and see how that kind of goes.
What a time to be alive. And then the other thing with government is blockchain has a lot of applications with just governing. I mean, that's basically what it is in its entirety. So to see a government possibly built on some kind of decentralized system.
Yeah. And if this is going to be like a representative, like a represent Earth, it has to represent everybody on Earth, not just like America, which I think would require some sort of decentralized system to even be fair. And like things like voting and all of that should be happening on Earth soon, but we'll see about that. I also thought it was interesting that he talked about like his time allocation. So he said like 80% of his time is spent on like engineering type work and not so much like business, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
And then obviously most of his time was spent on Tesla and SpaceX.
Yeah, people I think that he's just this very removed guy. No, like Elon, he's got his office like right in the center of the production floor.
Yeah.
He's staying there days and nights at the Gigafactory to get production through. He's like working with his hands to make these things happen, and that's what's really cool. And he's been fortunate to have some really good business people that take care of kind of the business stuff.
Yeah. I think people who like aren't obsessed with Elon Musk, like maybe we are, really understand like what all he does. Like he's not just like the business owner; he's like the actual creator of these things. So I just thought it was awesome. He spends like 80% of his time doing engineering stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, while also being great at like branding and marketing.
Yeah, but I think he's got a lot of time sunk into probably email and some less exciting things, but also, he's definitely not just sitting at a desk doing paperwork. So I have a conspiracy theory.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, this has to do with Face ID.
Okay, yeah, I saw this on here.
And my thinking here is, I saw it, I don't remember the company right now, but some company has come out with a phone that does Touch ID or touch, like fingerprint sensing through the screen.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Right. And I thought to myself, like, and the thing, so if you're using the phone, you're touching it, you're not always truthfully like looking at it. Like it's sometimes down. Face ID doesn't always work. Right. And sometimes your face is covered, but you can still see your screen.
Yeah.
The way phones work currently, though, you're always touching that screen. So a fingerprint scanner embedded underneath the screen, that makes perfect sense from a design perspective. And I think that like Apple would really embrace that.
Yeah.
So my conspiracy theory here is, why the hell did they create Face ID? And my thinking is that perhaps Apple has known all along that, 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the line, their phones will use an integrated screen fingerprint sensor.
Yeah.
But that intentionally before that happened, they needed to have a reason to have face tracking technology in the phone. So my thought is like, perhaps, not really proof on any of this, but like they might have said, hey, the next logical step a few years down the line is going to be fingerprint scanners in the phone. And if we want to have the ability to track the user's like facial expressions and eye tracking movement, we need these sensors now. So it's kind of
really interesting.
Yeah, so it might be a little bit like blanketed in this, the Animoji as like kind of a gimmick, and then the face unlocking thing. Because if in a few years all the phones have fingerprint unlocks built into the screens, the only reason Apple could introduce Face ID was to say, well, so we can track where your eyes go, so that we can collect data on your,
Yeah.
So
because if they even built it with both of them now, people would just use the fingerprint reader.
Yeah.
So in order to like incentivize people to train the face tracking, they have to make it the only option.
Yeah, so it's a bit of like an opportune moment where if they were going to introduce this technology, there's legitimate-ish reasons, but it does seem a little bit, like sketchy with people's like children in some cases being able to unlock their phones and things.
Yeah.
It seems like questionable security increases.
Yeah.
So I think there's some legitimacy to the fact that Apple really might be more interested in having that data, whether it's this is like, what can Face ID be used for? And so one is like user-centered things, like you can control an animation with your facial gestures, or you can unlock your phone, and that's good for you. But it can also do things like, Apple's pretty good about this, but ads could track where your eyes are looking.
Yeah.
You can, just the entire time you're using the phone, you could know exactly where the user's looking and like the emotions displayed on their face.
From what I understand about how Face ID works now, though, is that it's not like recording anything like that. So it's not recording your facial movements or your eye tracking or anything like that. Just at times where it needs to verify that it's you, it does the dot projector that, goes through some algorithm and is turned into, let's say, a number or some sort of hash. And then it's compared against, whatever it is. So it's not actually saving a map, saving anything. It's basically just turning your face into an output that it can compare to what it should be.
Yeah, I don't think they're able to save any data and like use it. There might be a little bit of like anonymously send us your data so that we can improve Face ID to some extent. I don't know. They're certainly not keeping it on all the time right now, but like the precedent is sort of set. The precedent is already there now, that moving forward, regardless of what authentication technology there is, face tracking technology in phones makes sense, and the public
Yeah.
like gets that now.
And even like face tracking. So this isn't really related to probably anything that Apple will be working on for a while, but in VR, face like nonverbals are like really hard to replicate in virtual reality. So a lot of times you'll see they have sunglasses on or something like that because eye tracking, like you can't when you're talking to somebody, it doesn't know that you're looking at them or if you're frowning or smiling. But if they were to use the technology in the iPhone to even replicate faces in virtual reality to be that detailed as like what an Animoji is, that would be really cool. I don't really see them working on that, so I don't know how related that even is. I just think that's interesting.
Yeah,
It's a technology worth developing for reasons other than authentication.
There's a lot of potential there. Yeah, it's tricky to tell the direction they're going in, but there's been times in the past where I've been like, Apple, why did you do that silly thing that you did?
Yeah.
And then like something happens, and I go, oh, it kind of makes sense to me now.
Yeah. Well, what I want is for Face ID to be in the laptops because that does make sense.
Yeah.
Because you're always looking directly at the screen, and if you just open it up and it authenticates, you don't even have to touch anything. But to your point, like on a phone though, you are already always touching it.
That's a really good point with the laptops. I haven't even thought of them putting that in there, but I imagine they will or should.
I hope so because it doesn't matter so much because it authenticates through my Apple Watch.
Yeah,
but it could still be really cool to like. I would much rather have Face ID in a laptop to validate when I'm making payments and things than a fingerprint sensor.
And I really don't like the fingerprint sensor. Like that's their solution with the MacBook Pro right now with the Touch Bar.
Yeah.
That it works sort of, but like it is not great. And it replaces like your power button. It's a weird system.
Yeah, I think it's really weird.
It kind of comes across as like an interim thing.
I'm curious how the Touch Bar is doing. I haven't heard much about it. Like people liking or just disliking it.
I think it's pulling an Apple Watch. And that is to say, still pretty early in its like what it can be for the future product life cycle.
Yeah.
And probably it's not completely floundering, but also it's probably not really pushing people to get the Pro when they could just get I learned it's called the MacBook Escape. Do you know that?
That's the official name?
No, I think that's like the fan name.
I've heard that. Yeah. I've just heard MacBook and MacBook with Touch Bar or something.
Yeah, no, I think it's called that because it has an escape button. I don't know.
Yeah, I do think that's a funny name. I've seen people use it though, and it does look kind of nice to just do controls up there. I just haven't really heard anything about it.
Yeah.
But the Apple, you said it's the Apple Watch. I love my Apple Watch. Well, it is like it's still early. I've been seeing a lot of people with AirPods the past like 2 months.
Oh my gosh.
I got the AirPods a while ago, I guess when they came out, and like I hadn't seen them anywhere, and people were like making fun of me for like wearing them. But I'm starting to see them everywhere now, and they're like it's like one of my favorite Apple products. I guess I love the iPhone 10 actually, but before that, it's been my favorite Apple product in years.
I'm astounded that I waited so long to get them because I was just like, I don't need that. Because I wound my headphones. I always had them on me. That's like two of the big pain points the AirPods solve is people don't usually have, like some people didn't have their headphones on them. And then if they did, they were tangled mess. And I didn't have either of those problems.
Yeah.
Doesn't even matter. AirPods are like the greatest product that Apple has created in a long time. And I really believe like not only are they just so well designed, but they're just so fundamentally Apple. There's one color. There's almost no settings. They're just these beautiful, minimal, and very different. Like you haven't seen earpod or wireless earbuds that like kind of use the case the way the AirPods do.
Yeah.
Like they sit in there when they're not in use, and it's such a good system.
There was one before they did it, but it was really ugly. It was like a Kickstarter. It didn't work. They went out of sync all the time. The battery was awful. But it's again Apple. Like they're waiting until they do it right, and then they do it right.
Yeah, I literally earlier today, just for no reason, I just thought and remembered it because I was complaining a lot on r/AirPods for a while. Like, I don't think I'll really like them and things. I went on there today and just wrote a review of them, and I was like, I love these things.
Yeah,
they're great. But so this is the big 5 tech companies.
Okay.
I want to go down and rank them.
Oh, okay. We'll see if we agree.
Yeah. So to clarify, and this is, I guess, a little bit of my opinion, but it's hard to argue any alternatives. I think there's 5 major sort of technology companies. And so you've got Apple, Amazon, Facebook, which that one may be the most arguable.
They have Oculus. They have some other cool projects aside from Facebook.
Yeah. But then Microsoft and Google. It always
forgot Google.
I always get to 4 and I'm like, well, what is that other one?
Is that in order?
No, that was a random order.
Okay.
That was just the first ones that came to my head. And I just want to go down and rank, what do you like? I guess just the ones you like the most versus least or whatever. I guess start with least.
Least would be Facebook.
Yeah? Oh, it's like bad timing.
Well, even before that, like I'm just not a fan of Facebook. I'm a huge fan of Oculus, even Instagram. So maybe Facebook as a company.
That's just things they bought, though.
I like. That's true. Yeah, but it's hard to even explain what I don't like. It's just like using Facebook, like the social media app Facebook, is everything on there is complete garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything that people share is like if you go to Instagram, it's typically more authentic, it's more interesting, but even Twitter. But when every time I'm on Facebook, I don't care about any of this stuff.
Well, it's a bit of the odd man out here also because it's, primarily it is a social network and all these other ones are like software and computer companies. But they do have like, they have their big keynotes. They have like this initiative where they're trying to get internet to the world through like, planes. I don't know if you've seen that. Like,
yeah.
Like they're up there in.
I definitely would consider them a tech company. And I do like their side projects much more than I like Facebook.
Yeah.
Like even like the governance of advertising and revenue share with creators, like they're trying to do so much on Facebook that they're doing it all poorly. I feel like it's a great like contacts app. Like I can find people that I need to contact. But trying to use it in any like meaningful way is just miserable, and I'm just not a fan.
I've been trying to think of, so I think for me, Facebook is also at the bottom of this list. Maybe a little bit more of a close call for me, but I'm trying to think of something that I like that Facebook does.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like only things that they've bought, or their best technology is, which makes sense. It's a business. Their business is advertising, and they do a great job at it. But that doesn't mean anything to me as a user.
I mean, so they haven't messed up Messenger too much for me.
I hate Messenger.
No? Yeah?
I get in there, and there's like so much spam in Messenger. Every time I open it, like it asks me to turn on my notifications, and it asks me every single time, and no matter how many times I hit no. I just don't like it. And even like it doesn't even have anything to do with this. What is it? Cambridge Analytica. I forget what it's called.
Yeah.
That's not even Facebook's fault as far as I'm concerned. I think that was that like data mining company. They were using Facebook the way that Facebook allows things to be used.
But should Facebook allow things to be used that
No,
way?
that's a fair point too, and I definitely agree with it. But it's always worked that way. I don't think we should be surprised that Facebook allows you to do those things because I work at an advertising agency and we use that stuff all the time. And it's not a surprise. That's in their rules. It's very public. It was like somebody found a way to use it in a bad way.
Yeah. And
that should be their fault. And then Facebook should respond to that and change the way that they allow this information to be used. But I don't think that should affect this whole situation. I think that's like you should respond and fix it. You shouldn't. I don't think that it was always Facebook's fault because it's been very public what they allow you to use.
Yeah, no, I pretty much agree. Let's go on to number 4.
4.
Yeah.
So what were the other ones?
Yeah.
Amazon.
Amazon, Microsoft, Apple.
Okay, so my number
Google.
4 is Microsoft.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I even applied to Microsoft, and I had an interview there, and I'm applying to more jobs at Microsoft. So hopefully this goes out before it becomes number 1 in iTunes and everybody's listened to it. But like even like the application process to applying to Microsoft was kind of difficult. Like the site was always like kind of broken. The descriptions had a bunch of typos, and the formatting was always messed up, which I think is just representative of kind of what I don't like about Microsoft is that it's got a lot of great technology, a lot of very smart people, but they don't focus on like the details.
Yeah. What's weird with this kind of list is Microsoft is kind of an odd one out in being just, it feels like an old company compared to the others. And you used to be able to group Microsoft and Apple, but now probably you're more grouping Apple and Google. If you just ask, people off the street.
Yeah, and I like that doesn't mean that I don't like I like Microsoft. Like if we're putting these people on a sliding scale and Facebook is at the far end, Microsoft's like much closer to the other companies.
Oh, yeah.
I do like Microsoft. It's just like using their products, I get the same feel. They feel slightly buggy.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I applied for was for like, and they have like this really cool like education program for like connecting teachers and sharing lessons plans and getting technology into the classrooms. And like that would have been awesome to work on. So they do, and then obviously HoloLens. They do lots of really awesome things. Yeah. So I think they're a great tech company, but that's why they're 4 for me.
I think so. Microsoft would be bottom of the barrel for me, and I'm even tempted to make them that on this list.
You mean 5?
Yeah, like the worst. Except that I just respect and love their what is it, Surface division.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like watch one of those keynotes sometime. The main dude behind it is this guy. Oh man, this part might get edited out while I think of his name.
I haven't used the Surface. I haven't even used Windows really in a little while. So I don't even know if the reasons why I left are still there. Like maybe it's gotten better.
I used the original Surface Pro. Is
that the one with like the light version of Windows?
No, it was like it was full Windows. There was LT, like Surface LT, I think, when that first launched, or maybe it was just called Surface Regular. I don't know, but I had the Pro and it had full Windows, and it was super cool. I was walking around with this tablet that also ran full Windows, and ran all that, the CAD programs and all that. But if you watch these keynotes, it is like a little version of Apple at Microsoft, and it's like they're a little bit trying to copy it, and I don't love that. But the main dude, his name's Panos Panay. Watch the keynotes. This guy is like one of my heroes. He's just so freaking authentic on that stage when they present products, and it's like you can really tell that they care about some of the things that they create. So I'm a huge fan of the Surface line, and I want it to succeed, but it's weird that they're trying to do basically what Apple, like the world's richest or whatever company, right? Yeah. What Apple basically exclusively does with this tiny division of Microsoft.
Okay.
So it's almost an underdog.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
I'll look that up. Panos Panay?
Yeah, well, just one of the keynotes, and just watch for like 30 seconds, and you'll be like, oh, this guy is not your typical, like, sometimes even Apple presentations, they get those like really kind of uptight presenter people, and it's just like that's so.
Like Johnny Ives for Microsoft.
He's like the Jobs. You know how Jobs would just get up there and he's like so in the zone and comfortable.
Yeah,
that's Panos at Microsoft.
All right, I'll definitely look him up.
It's him and just the Surface. That's what kind of digs Microsoft out of the grave for me.
So, what's your opinion on touchscreen laptops or tablets with full operating systems? Do you like that? Because I know people that are like that love their touchscreen, on their laptop or whatever, which
I think it's a goofy thing that's not supposed to be happening.
okay, I agree, because the whole interface is designed for the cursor.
Yeah. You're mucking up your screen, and it's really awkward.
Which I think is like representative of what Microsoft does a lot, is that like this was designed for one thing, and now we're going to try to make it work halfway for another thing, which half the time makes it very, like, halfway work for both things, or one experience is just really poor. Like the only thing I could see it being useful for is for scrolling, which is like a negligible advantage as far as I'm concerned. Everything else that you would interact with on your screen, it sounds miserable to like try and pinpoint tap whatever it is without making it really huge. And then if it's making it really huge, you're just wasting space on the screen.
Yeah, even with the ones like the yoga tablet computers that wrap around, you still have a keyboard on the back. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The Surface solved this by having like the soft touch cover keyboard thing, which had its own problems.
But even that, I feel like they should do a different operating system that's optimized for touching.
Yeah, well,
that's what my main problem with it is.
That's kind of, that's what you get when you have like a hybrid thing, is you're going to get kind of the worst and best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a mess. It's a mess. I did love the Surface Pro though. For the time that I had it, it was a solid computer. Note taking, and it still like was able to do computer things. I used like a Bluetooth keyboard with it though, because just that was the only way to do it.
All right, so far we agree then, I guess.
Barely. It would be very easy to flip Facebook and Microsoft for me, but go ahead.
Probably agree on number 1, so I think 2 and 3 will be our chance to. Really? Okay. Yeah. You go first, because I don't even know what my 3 is yet.
Oh, so this is where it gets tough for me.
Yeah.
Apple, hard to truly complain about, because they're pretty all right. And then Amazon, I think Amazon is 3. I'm putting Amazon 3. Okay. That's the answer.
We're gonna have the same list probably.
Oh really?
So
we should have put these down first.
Because I think, okay, I'll change mine so we have something different. Because I could go either way really between Google and Amazon.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So why is Amazon your 3? Or why is Amazon your 3?
Oh, just because. So I was never really too big a fan of Amazon. There's multiple products with the same type on them, and this is kind of like little nitpicky things, but like they'll do this thing where if you order something, so you order something and it's Prime 2 days, but some of those Prime 2 day things Amazon does not keep in their own warehouses, and they have no right and reasonable ability to guarantee that it'll be there in 2 days. So when you order it like 2 days ahead, it says guaranteed delivery this day that's 2 days from now, right? And that's just complete bullshit. If it's an item that they actually have in their warehouse, it's pretty certain it's going to be there. But
have you gotten things late then?
Yes, so many times. Really? It has been guaranteed delivery this day, and then the guy or like the third party person that Amazon gets it from didn't ship it in sort of the time that Amazon kind of expected they would. But like Amazon's not in control of it at all. So they're not able to guarantee that. And then the worst of it is that so it says guaranteed delivery this date. As soon as they miss that date that is guaranteed, quote unquote, it switches the wording to expected delivery or something like that. It's just like, just like if you want to build like customer loyalty, and they know it too, because if you call them, this is their thing, Prime is their out. You complain about anything, they're just like, here's some more Prime.
Go away. Okay. I'm going to move Amazon to second so that I can counterpoint your reasoning for the third. Because I love Amazon, and they do more than just like the store, which I'll get into when I go through mine. But I guess my number 3 will be Google. Like I said, my top 3 are all very, very close. But I think I don't like Google just because they have YouTube. They've revolutionized like the internet completely, basically.
Yeah.
But I guess for similar reasons to Facebook is just like the ethics of YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube is the primary thing dragging Google down.
Or even the ethics of Google, the ethics of Facebook. I think that's where my problem is just in like securing user data, like actually caring about the user. Whereas with like Apple, it does not sell advertising, so that's why they're mine first is because
spoiler alert.
Oh man, nobody saw that coming after we talked about nothing but Apple. But because like they're not an advertising company, they are motivated to make products that are good for the user. Whereas Facebook, Google, their loyalty is to the advertisers and making that program great.
And you don't feel like Amazon has those kind of. So you're trying to say why
Amazon
Google's
does
below them right now, right?
Yeah. So Amazon, I guess, does have that loyalty, but it's different.
I don't actually know if they do or not.
It's not even so much to advertising though. It's more to just like e-commerce is what Amazon's loyalty is to.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a lot of data gathering, but I feel like it's from a different perspective than Google and Facebook is from. So yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with moving it now because of that reason. So yeah, I think that's my reason for Google being third. All right. Which I guess I'll go ahead and get into Amazon then.
Yeah.
So my second would be Amazon. Obviously because of just like revolutionizing e-commerce. Like Jeff Bezos, like if you watch his interviews from the very beginning, is like similar to Elon Musk. Just Elon Musk is like from the future. But he like had a very clear plan basically for how to get to where Amazon is. He saw the whole thing, and I think that's awesome. But then they also have like these peripheral things that all kind of ladders up to that, like the Echo, the Kindle. They're great at selling things.
Mm-hmm.
They've mastered that.
So for me, the like Kindle, it's like they don't even have their own product page for that. It's just kind of weirdly integrated into Amazon.
Yeah.
And then as for like Jeff himself, I was actually surprised. I just started reading a book that's supposed to be about Elon Musk because that's the first name in the title, but so far it's only talked about Jeff Bezos. And I'm surprised how little I knew about him. He seems coolish so far. He's a little bit more like a dweeb kind of person.
You should listen to his interview from Recode last year.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Okay.
Just talking about like the future. He's very practical. He's very like frugal for like none of the other tech companies are.
Mm-hmm.
Like it seems like much more of like a bootstrapped kind of hard work company that like saw like something and like did a great job at it.
Yeah, I respect that. Ready for my number 2?
I'm ready.
I'm gonna put number 2. It's gonna be Apple. I'm gonna put Apple in the second spot.
Really?
And there's
you
like
didn't even remember that Google was even in the top 5 when we were coming up with the initial list, and now we're number 1.
I always forget one. It doesn't matter. It's just the last one that I get to. But so Apple is, like I said, it's pretty good. A little bit. So that what this boils down to here is leader, right? So you could even make this argument to say Amazon's above Google, and I would even maybe be open to that. I'm going to leave it as is for simplicity and say Apple's number 2. But they've it was a Jobs company, like it was Steve Jobs' company.
Yeah.
And now it's like Tim Cook company, and I'm a little concerned that the innovation's a little bit stifled, and I mean they're doing all right, and I don't know, it's hard to imagine how Apple could have possibly failed after Steve Jobs, but they were
Steve Jobs ingrained that culture into everything so deeply that they can't even do what they did when he left the first time.
There's some things happening though with like the fact that they're using old phone models and
Yeah.
there's like 7 iPhone types right now.
Yeah, because Tim Cook he's an
Yeah.
operations guy.
The MacBook
He's
Airs.
like a numbers sales guy, and he knows how to maximize that.
Yeah.
But I was very worried about the stifling of innovation kind of thing when Steve Jobs died. But to be honest, I don't think it's as good as it would be with Steve Jobs, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with how it's gone.
It's hard to complain about it too much, but the thing about, so then I'll talk about my number one, I guess, here briefly.
Yeah.
But the thing about Google is like, maybe, did we talk about this before? Did I ask you, do you know who is in charge of Alphabet?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah, you're not. How are you not sure of that, huh? Do you know who's in charge of Google?
I always forget their names, but is it still the original 2 guys?
No, it's not. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. It's not very significant, but the fact that like I can't walk up to people on the street and they'll tell me who founded Google or who's currently in charge of Google or who runs Alphabet is interesting to me. It's a little bit. It seems, and this whole Alphabet structure that they have now, which is different from what all these other companies have done, is pretty interesting to me.
Yeah.
And they've done good work on the hardware that they have put out, and they're great at their software. And so YouTube is the one exception to things with just.
I mean, they've definitely got their hands in more things than any other of the top 5 lists. Like they've got,
they're just
AlphaZero, AlphaGo. They've got Nest. They've got obviously Google, Gmail. Like that's what I meant. Like they changed the internet. Like they're doing. Oh, another thing about Amazon is just like AWS. Like they're a very functional company.
Yeah, that's the other side of Amazon, huh?
But yeah, back to Google, I guess. They're undeniably like the most, I think, influential of the internet.
Yeah, there's something about them that makes them sort of the most different in this list.
Yeah.
Somehow, because they're a little bit of everything to me.
Yeah. And they're like very good at everything.
Yeah.
For me, it comes, I think, more down to the motive behind why they're even in so many pots, and it always comes to selling data and advertising, which makes sense. It's a necessary part of these business structures and making them work. Yeah. But like that makes me respect them as a company and that they've done it so well. But as a user, I just don't care so much.
Yeah, so it could be. Oh man, it's so hard, and I could be definitely convinced about the order of this list. But I'm gonna put Google at 1 right now for the simple fact that they are Alphabet. They transcend being a company almost.
They don't do one thing; they do everything.
Yeah.
Which has been leaked earlier in the podcast, but my number 1 is Apple, which basically still comes down to the focus on the user and the user experience and design, but not only looking great, but like being functional. They, at least from how things look and how things have gone in the past, very ethical. The reason for that could be because they are ethical. The other reason could be because that sells. Who really knows? But like things are like security is always a priority.
I don't know if Jobs seemed like a particularly ethical dude.
I think in like the products, probably not so much in like getting the products done. But the like priority on security down to even like the priority on accessibility. Is just like they try to make great things, and a lot of the criticism is that Apple wasn't the first people to do that, which I don't care so much about that. I care more that like say they like if they waited 4 years too long to make a larger smartphone, they did that because they thought that was the right choice. They realized that maybe that people wanted a larger phone, and then they went to that. So I think they do a good job of like not moving with the trends and moving with what should be. And I'm also a huge fan of people complaining about like even back to like when they switched from the 30-pin connector to the Lightning connector, into getting rid of CD
Yeah.
drives, and like maybe the USB-B thing was like a year or two early. But I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff because like there's nothing I hate more than like using things just because those are the things that have always been used.
Yeah.
So I like that a lot too.
USB. Are you talking about the ones that the MacBooks use now? Or
yeah, maybe they got rid of like USB.
I think they went A to C,
Yeah.
and then and B some weird in between. But
yeah, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
But the issue is that it wasn't at like production wasn't at a level yet to like make it easy for that transition. Which I'm not even like I'm fine with it because I don't connect anything to my laptop. But if you're like a professional, like podcaster, somebody that's like got a huge podcast or video editor, or somebody that's doing like professional work, which Apple claims to be building their computers for, they just can't really live off of not having ports, basically, which isn't an issue for me, but for that.
It took courage.
Yeah, that's annoying.
I mean, that's one of the things.
Definitely the cheesiest.
It sort of a little bit does. I mean, that came off badly at that case, but
yeah. I mean,
they're pretty bold about like we don't really care all that much about whether the majority of people want us to keep this feature.
Yeah,
because they're an artisanal design company basically, but then so many users that it gets down to like the average American has an iPhone now. It's a weird kind of contrast.
Yeah, it's no longer like it's okay for them to do it. They can do whatever they want, but when you're like the largest company in the world, affecting so many people, maybe it's okay to like hold on to some legacy stuff just a little bit longer, or at least give an option for it.
Well, I think what it boils down to for Apple, and the argument I would make if they were going to be my number one, would be that they have their ecosystem down.
Oh yeah.
I mean, for storage solutions, it's a little up in the air for me. I'm not too big on iCloud, but just hardware with software, and that's always been their thing. Microsoft, if they had it together, they would be like one or two, but it's shambles, right? Like the operating system, and then what even is Windows Mobile right now?
That's a good point.
Is there Windows Mobile right now?
No, I mean, not for anybody that doesn't work at Google or Microsoft.
And then Google, you'd think they'd be poised for this.
Yeah.
And not only is Android not something that I can get behind, I don't agree with the philosophy. I mean, it's great that it's open, but like, I don't really see a great purpose to pay the same as an iPhone for something that runs Android.
That's the other thing. It's like Apple owns everything, which kind of like gives them that advantage because Windows,
you get to be in the Apple ecosystem.
Yeah. Windows has to rely on other manufacturers or other companies to build something, build a computer that works with Windows. Google has to build Android in a way that works for Samsung and LG and everybody else, which is very difficult to do. And also cuts into things like margins, which like my wife's mom got like an ad just randomly on her phone the other day, and she clicked on it and started playing some noise, and then we couldn't even figure out how to turn the thing off. Some lady at work said like she gets an ad on her phone before she can even answer a call. Like stuff like that is like completely ridiculous. Like the fact that it's so easy to accidentally download these things or to enable some sort of thing where you can just have ads on your phone because Samsung put some like if they like put stock Android on all these things, I'm sure it would be fine. But they allowing like Samsung to
it's better, but even stock is still just so meant to be used for so many things that it's not comparable to the iPhone for me. Well, and then they don't even have an operating system for a computer. They have a Chromebook, but it's not.
Yeah. Well, they also don't make a computer. But I mean, they do everything else.
Pixels.
Yeah, that's true. But that was kind of a result of the Chromebook. And like with Android, the fact that you can't guarantee that your phone will be able to use the most up-to-date version of Android, like when you look at like the fragmentation of Android versions, it's like
it's rough.
5 to 10% is on the latest version, and like not even because like they don't push it to be updated, but because they have to support such a wide variety of phones that it's hard to even roll it out to all the phones, and it's in some like rolling thing where some get them and some don't, even if you just bought the phone.
Yeah. All right. We'll leave it at that. Maybe I'm really excited to see this list get other competitors on it. Like I really think like what even is number 6 on this list?
Yeah,
like Samsung is the only one I've thought maybe could even qualify.
Samsung's so hardware focused though.
Yeah, they
It's hard to
really
get
don't
super
even
excited about.
count in this like kind of.
Yeah.
They don't fit nearly as well as these other ones.
Yeah, I'd have to think about that.
Like it seems like there's this huge gap after 5.
Yeah,
And I'd love to see like something else, even if it is at the bottom for a while, be in these ranks.
yeah.
Like Snapchat, but no.
Snapchat, I want to be more successful than it is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, give it 5 years and see where we are.
Yeah, that'll be in the 300th anniversary episode. But yeah, we have a name now, so that's exciting. And
yeah.
I guess we'll start posting these.